gentleman yields back. It's my pleasure to yield to the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Jordan, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Professor Wadhia, are you a proponent of critical race theory?
I teach with the statute as my centerpiece. So I start with the immigration statute. I do think it's important to also talk about the history of how the statute has evolved. So my students are able to connect the dots between the history of the immigration statute, which has been compared second in complication to the U.S. tax code.
Well, let me ask it this way. Let me ask it this way, Professor. I'm sorry. Do you support critical race theory being taught in our K through 12 schools or in higher education?
It's a term that has had many meanings. I do support teaching history, and I do.
Well, we all support that.
So that's how I would answer the question, Congressman.
Well, you believe discrimination based on race is wrong, right?
I do.
Okay, so one of the key proponents of critical race theory, Imram X. Kendi, said this, quote, "The defining question is whether the discrimination is creating equity or inequity. If discrimination is creating equity, then it's okay." Do you agree with that statement?
I believe that if we have, and I will speak as an immigration expert, if we have immigration policies that explicitly target people based on their country of birth or their religion, I think that's a problematic policy.
No, but that's not what I asked you. I asked this, if equity is achieved through discrimination, is that discrimination okay? Because the key proponent of critical race theory says it is. I just want to know if you think it is. If equity is achieved through discrimination, is that discrimination okay?
I can frame the question of equity only in a different way, because I answer these questions through the lens of immigration. And so if you want me to answer about where I stand on immigration, I would say that if we have immigration policies.
Well, let me do this then. Mr. Westhill, do you think Asian Americans who've been denied entrance into certain institutions, do you think they are okay with equity being achieved, so-called equity being achieved at some of these schools of higher learning through discrimination? Do you think they're okay with that?
Thank you, Congressman Jordan. No, I don't.
No, because it's real to them, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I will add that I don't know when racial or ethnic discrimination in any form became controversial, but my testimony here, I think, should clearly not be controversial, but it is.
I know. For the life of me, I don't know why it is either. Let me just quickly go to Ms. Nomani. Thank you for being here. So I noticed your shirt. It says, "I'm a mom, not a domestic terrorist." This is an issue that this committee has at least the Republicans have. Once we learned about the memorandum from the Attorney General, memorandum targeting, you got it right there. Well, you got the letter right there from the School Board Association. But I'm just curious, do you think, as someone who's been active in defending the rights of parents, moms and dads in our schools, are you nervous about this now because of a whistleblower who came forward and gave us the email sent from the FBI to agents around the country talking about this threat tag label being placed on parents? Are you nervous that that designation, that label, that tag may be now associated with your name?
I know that we are now under surveillance as parents. We are seeing it in local authorities, state authorities, and federal authorities. And if everybody here is in agreement that they do not want surveillance and undue persecution of any human being, that should include parents. And I applaud you all for just being there for the mama bears and papa bears. Because you know what? We are in the trenches and we are fighting. And it was a mom in Fairfax County, Virginia, who revealed to us that Attorney General Merrick Garland's son-in-law is benefiting from the big tech company contracts with school boards. And so what I want to encourage every parent to do is just be a Nancy Drew, Hardy Boy, whichever way it is, in your school district. filed those Freedom of Information Act requests, and that's how we got the emails that traced exactly this school board letter to the White House.
Madam Chair, I would just reiterate the numerous times that Republicans have asked to have the Attorney General back. Remember, his testimony that day said in no way were they treating parents as domestic terrorists, when in fact the day before he made that statement, that email went out to FBI agents around the country that said, put this designation on moms and dads. So once again, we need the Attorney General back here to answer some critical questions, and frankly, what we really need is for him to rescind the memorandum and stop this process he has put in place that is targeting moms and dads. With that, I yield back.